Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with two comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you could ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the damn Wickline show. It's Tuesday. We're coming off of a lot of crazy stuff happening. On Saturday, it was announced that Tom Brady was leaving the NFL. He was retiring. And then on Sunday and Monday was, no, what? He hasn't made his decision yet. He hasn't made his decision yet. And this morning he goes, no, he made his decision. He's retiring. And I had an interesting realization yesterday that Lisa, who I talk about quite a bit on the show, has a daughter and a son, and the daughter's 18, the son's 16. And they've never lived in a world where Tom Brady hadn't won at least a Super Bowl.
You mean they didn't have to deal with Tom Brady being terrible in college?
They don't know what a world is like without a Tom Brady Super Bowl ring.
Well, Dan, do you know what today is?
30th anniversary of Image Comics.
Exactly.
So they've never lived in a world where Image Comics didn't exist either?
Right, and I've only barely lived in a world. I wasn't quite 3 yet when it started. Wait, no. Wasn't quite 4 yet. So
I hadn't published my own book. I hadn't published a book yet, but it was soon after.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel old today. Kyle doesn't help.
My goal.
Old. Yeah. It's a weird world, isn't it? Also learned today the passing of Brian Augustine, a comic book writer and editor who you may be familiar with his work. He co-wrote a lot of stuff with Mark Waid. He did 2 different runs on The Flash, co-writing with Mark Waid. He also co-wrote Exo-Man of War. He worked on, he was an editor on The Flash for a long time. But some of the, he, as an individual writer, he worked on Crimson with Humberto Ramos. He worked on Black Mask with Jim Balke. But probably the one that most people will recognize, even the people who aren't into comics that much, is Gotham by Gaslight, which he did with Mike Mignola, and then was turned into an animated movie a few years ago. He was based out of Arizona. Arizona is an interesting comic community. It's a very tight-knit community where everybody really knows each other. And Brian was one of those people that, if you were a comic person and you moved to Arizona, you pretty much met Brian. And he was a opinionated guy. He was a very friendly guy. And he passed over the weekend from he had a heart attack and complications after that. So we send out our condolences to his family, his friends, and his fans, because he was 67 years old, which is still way too young. Way too young. And so condolences to the Augustine family, and yeah.
On a lighter note, I fixed your name.
Thank you. Should I speak like a pirate today too? Maybe put on my eye patch?
No, but if you could do it in a Victorian English accent.
Very good, sir.
What
We
here
shall
to
do
talk
so.
about the peacemaker? Yeah, like I can't do it. I go into Russian too easily.
Yes, we are here to talk about Peacemaker. Yeah, it does go into Russian.
Yeah, it
Very
goes into,
quickly.
or one of the Nazis from Hogan's Heroes.
You will, Colonel. I know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Victorian accent is more like up here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little snuffy.
Do the whole thing as
Darling.
Michael Caine.
I'm sorry, what?
Do the whole thing as Michael Caine.
Oh, I can't do a good Michael Caine. I can do a better Sean Connery, and that's Scottish. Yeah. Michael Caine. Yeah, that's a tough one, Michael Caine. But posh. I can do more of a Hugh Laurie, just a very Blackadder type. What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, yes, today we're going to speak about the Peacemaker and his little show with the vigilante and these little butterflies that go up your butt. Not sure why they go up your butt, but it is one of the orifices they could possibly enter your body with. Is that what you're looking for, Cal?
I think it would bring a higher level of class to the Peacemaker show for sure.
I could move it into a Masterpiece Theater. Yes, today on Masterpiece Theater, we'll be covering the Peacemaker with that amazing thespian, John Cena. Yes.
The ever invisible John Cena. All right. I'll let you get back to it.
Yeah. I actually want to go on a quick rant real quick. And it's Paul Story's fault. If you don't watch Popco the Writers, Paul is my co-host on that. He's a comic writer. He's done Gotham Girls for DC Comics. He's written Captain America. He loves to write Robin Hood. They tend to call them a lot for any time they want to write Robin Hood. Paul has this running joke where anytime, and a lot of people do this, anytime sports is mentioned, he acts like he has no knowledge whatsoever of this sport ball thing that you talk about. And he's not the only person. I know a lot of people that do that. It's like sport ball or, and they act like they know nothing about it. And I mentioned that the Tom Brady thing, and he started going about that. And I told him, I'm like, Paul, that's not funny. There's no real humor to I don't know anything about sports, because it reminds me of when I was younger and I was a fan of comic books and superheroes in general or science fiction or those things, and they weren't widely accepted. They aren't like today where everybody knows who Iron Man is because of the movies, and people know who Ant-Man is. Did you think you'd get to a point in the world where you could talk to somebody about Ant-Man? I walked into a sushi restaurant on Saturday to pick up an order in Victorville, California, and they were playing the Ant-Man movie on the screen in the restaurant. Imagine 1975, you're reading comic books as a 5-year-old, and you're trying to tell your parents about, oh, this new character I just came across. Isn't it great? And they look at you like, yeah, yeah, and they're not listening. Well, so many people, so many fans of sci-fi and comics and stuff like that are now flipping that. And they're doing it with stuff like, oh, I've never heard of this sport thing you do, or, what is this Wordle? And it's like they belittle anything anybody else likes. And I don't understand why. If you spent so much of your life having the things you love being belittled, why would you want to do that to somebody else? Why would you? I mean, even something as popular as sports, why would you want to do that? We're at a point where more and more stuff is being inclusive, yet we're in this nature of being exclusive. It's like this whole Marvel versus DC thing, which is ironic I bring that up because I literally just pitched a show called Marvel versus DC to Kyle earlier today. But the idea that, oh, you can't like DC if you're a Marvel fan, and you can't like Marvel if you're a DC fan. If you're a Zack Snyder fan, you have to hate what Kevin Feige's doing. Why? Why not embrace it all? Yeah, fantasy football is D&D for sports, or, basically it's nerd football. The people who love the stats and stuff like that are no different than the people who know what the best gear score is for a Warcraft character, or which where you should, which is your dump stat in D&D. And it's no different than the guy that knows how to tune his bass guitar to drop D instead of your standard E, because it's going to give him a better sound and better finger position when he's playing the song from The Cure or The Cult or whatever. It's all just things we love, and you should celebrate that people find stuff they love. Those people that worry me are the ones that have nothing. They don't have sports or comics or sci-fi, novels, music. If you collect action figure, Hot Toys or action figures, or you build Lego sets, or God bless you. You've got something to be excited about in your life. You've got something that brings you joy. Don't shit on people's joy. Worry about the ones who don't. Worry about the ones who aren't animal lovers or who don't love music. They get in their car and they listen to talk radio all day, and they come home and they turn on YouTube and they watch the latest news person, or commentator guy. When you don't have a hobby or you don't have something that excites you, those are the people to worry about. If somebody loves football, and even if you don't, embrace it, celebrate it. Celebrate the fact that they have something that they're passionate about. If they're tennis, golf, if somebody's joy is to sit at home on the weekend and watch a golf tournament, you may not understand it. And I don't mean the game, I mean the idea of just watching the game of golf. But they've got something passionate about. They're about, passion. They have something that they are passionate about. And that's a good thing, because when we have passion and love and hope and look forward to things, we're better people. If you just sit there all day and you go to work and then you come home and you listen to the news about how horrible things are out there, and that's all the news is nowadays. It's breaking news all day long about whatever the latest bad thing is. When's the last time they broke in and gave in good news? It's always the bad. And it's always, we build people up, we tear them down. This is not the way we should be. Oh, man. I don't know. Maybe it's just a combination of the weekend and Brian's passing and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm on a little rant here, and I'm sorry about that. That wasn't my plan for today. But if somebody loves something, then it's great. Embrace it. Embrace them for it. Maybe they like painting. Maybe they're not good at it, but they enjoy painting. Maybe they go to these paint and draw drink places, and they have a glass of wine and they follow the instructions and they get joy from that and they get relaxation, and that is great. Encourage that. Encourage them to do it. Don't belittle anybody's love of something. That's horrible. We dealt with that, when we were younger, when bullied for reading comic books at school, or reading science fiction books on the bus, or just, maybe you didn't play sports. Maybe you were a drama kid or a band kid. Don't turn around and send that same hate that you got back at somebody else. Just let it go. Let it dissipate and embrace it. If you don't get it, fine. But yeah, Kyle?
Well, I was just going to chime in and throw something on to add on to this, right?
Please.
Growing up, I caught a lot of heat for being a pro wrestling fan.
Okay.
About a week ago, a pro wrestler named Danhausen debuted on AEW TV. And for the last week, it's all been about how Danhausen doesn't respect pro wrestling and fans don't know who he is and yada, yada, yada. And it's been pro wrestling people decrying other people's pro wrestling fandom. So to add on to this, don't be that guy who, because someone likes, I don't know, Green Hornet, is making fun of them as not being a real comic book fan because they don't like the Batman. Or, because I only like Spider-Man, that doesn't make me any less of a comic book fan than somebody who, likes everybody, or, something like that. Like, there's a lot of toxic fandom happening. And one of the things I see it in is something we talk about on Thursday. The Star Wars. Star Wars is one of the most toxic fandoms I've encountered. And I find myself being guilty of it. Often for humor joke purposes, but never seriously and intentionally. But it's something to be super cognizant of right now, especially in the face of, what's happening with Mouse in Tennessee and with V for Vendetta in Texas and things like that. Like, our fandom needs to be strong because it's getting attacked.
Yes.
And to tear down someone else's fandom because of it is not helping anyone.
Yeah.
But don't make fun of people who like pro wrestling, because eventually the people they like will grow up to star in shows like Peacemaker.
Yep. Yeah. Or you'll find yourself interviewing one of them on a podcast.
Right.
I'm not a wrestling guy.
Right.
I watched it when I was a kid, but now we've had Chris on once or twice.
We've had Tony Schiavone, who's an announcer for professional wrestling. We've had Jerry Lawler, who's an artist and a professional wrestling announcer and professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista is a professional wrestler, is Drax the Destroyer. John Cena is the Peacemaker.
Yep. The Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rock the Dwayne Johnson absolutely is well, he's in everything.
Yes.
But I mean, you go back to Kevin Nash as which one was he? Was he Bebop or Rocksteady? Or was he Krang? He was in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Go even farther back. Andre the Giant and Princess Bride. Princess Bride is one of the most universally loved movies out there. And Andre the Giant was a key part of that movie.
Have you ever heard the story about him being, during making that movie, he was so hurt and he was so falling apart that he had trouble filming certain scenes. And the scene where the princess jumps off of the wall and he catches her.
Yeah.
They did that without ropes. He just caught her. Because it was really only like a 4-foot fall because he was so tall. But they had to do it a few times. And by the last time, he was like crying because his back hurt so bad. But he refused to let them lower her down into his arms. He wanted to do it the right way so it would look right, despite how much it hurt him.
Yep.
So shout out to Andre the Giant. That word, it does not mean what you think it means.
By the way, if you are a fan of Andre the Giant or just want to know more about him, Brandon Easton wrote an incredible graphic novel about Andre the Giant. You should look that up. It's a very good book. And shout out to Brandon, who's a good friend. And so we're a little off the rails right now on what we're talking about today. But yeah, let's get the toxicity out of the fandom and get back to it being about fandom and celebrate anybody's fandom. You know, I mean, any positive fandom out there, whether it's Star Wars, superheroes, football, soccer, or football, if you prefer, whether it's wrestling, music, just, I have a friend of mine who's obsessed with the TV series Mannix. Okay, she's been a guest on my Pop Go the Writers twice, where we talk about the series. That is a TV show from the late 60s and early 70s. She loves it, and it's how she relaxes. She'll get home and she'll watch an episode of that. She has tracked down, owns 3 coats, bought 3 different coats that he wore, 2 in the show, 1 on the when he was in Stagecoach. She just sold one of the jackets, which means there's another collector out there. And that is her thing, is Mannix. She does that, and she buys and paints these, and I do not remember the brand name, but they're these ceramic unicorns, and they're very popular. And somebody is probably going to know exactly what these are, but that's her thing, and God love her for it. If that's your thing. If you're a Warcraft player, Warcraft has been around for a lot of years, and now Microsoft just bought Activision, which had bought Blizzard. We don't know what's going to happen with Warcraft, but there are people who I go on and play. I've been playing Warcraft since 2007, and there was a while where I stopped playing, and now I'm back playing again, and I get a lot of joy from that. And it's phone game, whatever it is. If it's Wordle, if you are a Wordle person, enjoy it, celebrate it. But if somebody's doing something you don't enjoy or that's not your thing, don't attack them for it. My God, what's the point of that? What, to make yourself feel better because you put someone down? Just think about that. Is that really what you're doing?
Confession time. I've been playing online Uno for money.
Okay, you doing well?
I'm breaking even most of the time, but you want to talk about an addiction, man. WoW and online Uno for money. Those are my 2 big video game addictions. I had to get rid of my desktop so I would stop playing WoW.
I am going back, and I've been playing WoW for the last. Lisa got COVID and couldn't go out and do anything, so we went back, and we used to play WoW all the time. So we went back into WoW, and they had introduced some new races, a few expansions back, that we had never unlocked. So that's what we've done for the last few weeks, is unlock the Void Elves and the Lightforged Draenei and the Dark Iron Dwarves, the Coltirans. I think we have 1 left on the Alliance side, which is the Mecha Gnomes, and then we're working on the Horde side ones. We're working on the Volpira right now because it's something we can do. We don't have to really get into the end game stuff. We're enjoying playing these characters again, or playing Horde side some nights, and we play Alliance side other nights. But we're not stressing it. We're not doing big raids, which is where a lot of the stress from the game comes from. But it's nice to get back into that. Lisa just read. Yeah.
Have you watched Mythic Quest on Apple TV?
I have not. I don't have Apple TV.
Oh man, you got to see it. As a WoW player, you're going to be both in love and triggered the whole time.
I will probably end up getting Apple TV. I hear a lot of great about Ted Lasso.
It's great.
Everything I hear about it sounds like it's an amazing show, but it also doesn't sound like it's in my wheelhouse.
It's in everyone's wheelhouse because it's about relationships and people and the inherent, peopleness of people, but also every reference is designed for someone who is between the ages of 30 and 50 and was raised in the United States on television.
Yeah.
At one point he's doing a press conference, and I'll never forget, or not doing a press conference. He says something. One of the characters walks away from him and goes, "Cheers." And his response is "Night Court." Like, it's just a simple little jokes. Oh, it's such a good show. But no, for real though, for WoW players and anybody who's played an MMO, Mythic Quest. It's from the people who did It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
All right.
Oh, so funny.
Yeah. See, that's another show that I know people love and I can't get into. Is It's Always Sunny. I don't enjoy watching people put themselves in stupid situations. I'm not a sitcom guy. It makes me uncomfortable. It's hard for me to watch shows where it's like, if you simply talk to this other person for 2 minutes, you're going to resolve the situation. So those are tough for me. And I don't know how sitcom-y these are, but Always Sunny just is a tough one for me to get into.
Ted Lasso is a true sitcom from master of sitcoms, Bill Lawrence, who created Spin City and Scrubs and Cougar Town and a bunch of other stuff.
I like Spin City. I'm
Jason
not a
Sudeikis.
fan of Scrubs.
And then it's Jason Sudeikis. The whole thing is based on a sketch.
Yeah.
I would say that Mythic Quest is a little more in that more modern sitcom where they're longer episodes, and it's not so much a setup punch like Friends or Cheers or some of those were. Yeah. It's like these long overarching jokes. An example I'll give is there's an episode where they go to StreamerCon, which is a convention for streamers. Yeah. On the same day that the group called Girls Can Code come to visit the office. But it just so happens that all the women who can code in the office are at StreamerCon. And it's this cisgendered white guy trying to explain to them why girls who can code matter. And it just, it's awkwardness.
Yeah.
But they pay it off over 40 minutes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. But by the way, speaking of Mythic, just to kind of a segue off of that, tomorrow we are going to cover the first 3 episodes of Legend of Vox Machina, Critical Role, talking about D&D. So we will do a deep breakdown on that first 3 episodes. I sat and watched them last night. I backed the campaign when it was on Kickstarter, and looking forward to the last 3 episodes when that comes up. I don't know why my phone is suddenly going off today. Normally it doesn't. Bodega Bay, California. I don't even know where Bodega Bay is.
I don't know, but I'm going to have the song from The Mandalorian stuck in my head now, or whatever that was.
Yeah, that is my ringtone.
No. Thanks for that, Dan.
That's my general ringtone. Mm-hmm. I have some very specific ringtones, but that's my general. All right. By the way, the best one is when Nick Barucci calls me. It's the theme from The Flash, because he's a huge fan of The Flash.
I thought it was going to be the theme from Jersey Girl.
No. It's funny, but no, it's the theme from The Flash. So he used to call me just to talk about The Flash when the episodes aired. But,
that's funny.
Yep. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take our quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about Peacemaker. So be right back.
I gotta get the right screen. All right, we'll go to break.
They say it, and it's true, that everything is getting faster. You're not getting any younger, and time is the single resource that you can never get back or get any more of. So why walk into your local comic shop blind when you can go in laser focused on the best books on the shelf?
Hi everybody, and welcome to Minute to Skim It. Yeah!
Spend 1 hour with Miss Jen and Bean and they'll give you rapid-fire reviews of all the new comics hitting stores. Spend less time shopping and more time reading.
This is Provenance of Secrets.
This is The Heathens. I read Wolverine number 17.
Minute to Skim It, every Tuesday at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
All right, folks, we are back. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show again. We, after today's show, after this, join us for Black Comic Universe with Imani Latif, then Minute to Skim It with Miss Jen and Bean, and then I'll be back with Kyle to talk about books in stores this week, including Hell Sonja number 2, the Red Sonja Valentine's Day special, Buckhead number 3, and some other books. I think there's a Star Trek book in there, stuff like that. So stick around with the experience the rest of the day. You will enjoy it. Let me go ahead and plug this before we get back into, or we start on Peacemaker. Karma, my Kickstarter, is going into its final 2 days, final 48 hours, whatnot. Dynamite just put out the note that it's the final 48 hours, but I think it's actually, yeah, we're at 52 hours away from the finale. We're at 43,978, and we're at 963 backers. I'd really, really love to hit 1,000 backers. I know that's a huge number to still hit, another 37 people, but usually there's a big push at the end there. So if we can get another 37 people, or we could bring that up, you know, I know our initial, we hope pie in the sky goal was 50,000. 45 would be really amazing. So just doing that final push.
You got to 42.5, so everybody gets a hardcover.
Yes, that was, I was about to announce that. At 42.5, all of the graphic novels got turned to hardcovers. They've been upgraded to hardcovers. So whether it's and let's see if he's ready on the covers, the Mirka Andolfo cover, or it's the Stepan Sejic cover, or it's one of the Michael D. Pascal covers, whether it's this one or the naughty version, they'll all be hardcovers. So 120-page hardcover graphic novel, an erotic romance. It is, you know, it's almost at the finish line. I have been hyping the hell out of this thing for the last 28 days. I am horrible at self-promotion. Kyle knows it. Lisa points it out to me. I'm doing my best on this, but I am so beyond happy with how the book has done so far. Like I said, we're almost at 44,000. We're at 967 backers. We could hit 1,000 backers, and that would just be over the moon for me. And just the idea that Lisa put into perspective for me the other day, because I'm like, well, I know we kind of wanted to hit 50, and I don't know if we're going to make it. She said, dude, you got over 900 people to collectively give you over $40,000. Shut up and be happy. Okay. So if you haven't checked it out, please check out the Kickstarter. We're in that final few days, pushing to the end here. Hardcovers, 3 trading cards, and you get to pick which cover you want, or you could do the collective group, or you could do prints. You could do a digital copy. There's a lot of options on there. So check it out, and hopefully you'll join us in the backing of it. So, all right, let's talk Peacemaker. Now, I feel bad that I've kind of strung this show out where we're not going to have that much time to talk about Peacemaker, but yeah, spoiler warning. So if you want to roll the spoiler thing. All right, this episode pays off a lot of things they had been setting up. Everything from all the different helmets that we've seen that his dad has made for Chris, to the news report about the missing gorilla, to the fact that last week we learned that Myrn was a butterfly. The the thing about Amanda Waller wanting Adebayo to plant that fake diary, to the team becoming a team. That's all that stuff happened in this episode. And I'd say at this point, this is one of my two favorite episodes. I had a rough time with episode 1 because, and again, it's the sitcom thing. It's just this seeing just how miserable that guy to Chris, the Peacemaker, is, that Chris is, and seeing him do kind of silly things or stupid things, not where I enjoy it. But when they start working as a team against the butterflies, that's when I'm all in. Episode 3 was that way for me, when they're working together to take out the Senator Goff and all of that. That's what they're doing here. They have Adebayo discovered that one of the butterflies worked at the same place as this card that the senator had. It's this bottling company, and it turns out that's the food source. That's where that gold honey-like substance comes from that the butterflies eat. They're going there to check it out, and they're supposed to go in covertly, but Chris switches helmets, and we notice it's the toilet bowl shape is a little different. It's got an indentation now. And it turns out this is the X-ray helmet that we were introduced to earlier in the series. I think in episode 1, and then he grabbed it in episode 3 or 4. So he puts it on, and in doing so, he can see who has a butterfly on their head. That's awesome. So he walks into this place, and they're going as a team. And of course, he's playing music, and there's this first bonding moment between Economos and Chris and Peacemaker. Now, earlier we get to see, Myrn is starting to finally give us the information on the butterflies, and there's a PowerPoint presentation, which is just a horrible 1980s style PowerPoint presentation with explosions and bad graphics. And Economos put it together, and Peacemaker is giving him a lot of crap about it. But it turns out he's still mad that Economos put his dad's name on the registration for his car, which led to his dad getting arrested. Now, there's this whole scene where he goes, "It's the only name I could think of." And Peacemaker then rattles off this huge list of names of other people that he could have said. And they're all famous people. It's Ariana Grande. It's all just down the line. Danny Glover, Mel Gibson, just on and on. The kids from Riverdale. And it's so much so that the end credit scene where they do the little extra humor thing, or the extra scene, he's still going in that. So we get that. But there's a lot of tension between the two of them. And then in the ride over to this place, we discover that Economos is a fan of Hanoi Rocks, which is a band that Chris loves. He's even got 11th Street Kids tattooed on his arm, which is a song by Hanoi Rocks. So they have that little bit moment there. And all while they're going to investigate this bottling company, Myrn meets with a mercenary who's supposed to stop the police from releasing Augie, Peacemaker's dad, who's the White Dragon. And it does seem like there's a lot of effort to keep his dad in jail. And it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the main storyline, but they bribe the witnesses to point at him specifically, not just anybody. The putting his name on the registration, just on and on. It's like they're going out of their way to put this guy in jail, which does seem like there's a reason for it. And it can't be just a coincidence. That just seems a little too out there for it just to be a coincidence. But so he hires this mercenary, and then we go off. And at the same time, the two cops meet with Augie, and they find out that he says, well, just run my prints against the ones you found at the scene. You'll find out they're not my prints. Well, they did the standard way of putting it in through the computer, and then she also got a set of her own, and she did a comparison. And when she compared them, the ones she got to the ones on file, they're not a match. So she heads to release Augie and discovers that the crime lab came back with a match and that he's staying in prison. And she's like, wait, but they're not a match. What's going on? So she goes to the captain to find out what's going on and discovers that there's a new captain. The mercenary that Myrn was talking to is now captain of the police and basically tells her to drop it and go take a day off. So she's not dropping it, of course. She goes to her uncle, who's a judge, and his last name is Judy. So, yes, his name is Judge Judy, and they play on that for a joke once or a little bit. But so she's still investigating, and that's on the side, but we see a ticking time bomb going on there. That eventually the cops are going to go after Chris, and it might have something to do with the fake diary. Because if the cops decide they're going to check out Chris's apartment or his what is that thing? It's a motorhome, and they discover the diary, it might implicate Augie with some fake information, which would be used against him. So it does seem like something is in play with that. Now, I don't know what's in the diary, but it's the only thing that makes sense that they're connecting the dots there. Meanwhile, they go into this, the team goes into the building, and he's got the x-ray thing on, and he notices the first thing, the receptionist is a butterfly, boom, starts shooting. Now, he and Abadeo are going in the front door, Vigilante and Harcourt are going in the back door, Economos is in the van, and Vigilante's a little upset because he wanted to bring his chainsaw with him, and they said no. Can't bring the chainsaw. And he really, really wants to kill somebody with a chainsaw. And he's a little disappointed. But they go in, and we get this total homage to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, to the point where one of the butterflies realizes that somebody's there, points and does that scream that we see Donald Sutherland do in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and then all the movement and stuff is very similar. And they are just going through these butterflies like crazy. This is, you might have seen in the trailer, there is a Russian tank warhead with a grenade strapped to it, and he throws it at them, and he's like, well, why not just throw the, Abadaya is like, why not just throw the grenade? And he's like, well, grenade kills like 2 people. Well, how many does that kill? Don't know, just made it this morning. And he throws it, and it's a big explosion. Meanwhile, Vigilante and Harcourt discover that, this place is bottling the goo for the butterflies, and they get trapped in this room, and it turns out they're trapped with something that seems to be even more powerful than the butterflies who are already enhanced. So when a butterfly gets in a human, they become more powerful, they become stronger. But this seems even more over the top, but we don't know what it is at this point. So they're fighting their way over there. They get in there, and as after they're blowing up people apart, they get in there, and we find that it's a gorilla. It's the missing gorilla, Charlie. A butterfly has gotten inside, and we now have a talking gorilla. Now, I do not think this is Gorilla Grodd. I think this is just a talking gorilla. I don't think they would give us Gorilla Grodd, because what happens to the gorilla also would be a shame to waste an amazing character like Gorilla Grodd. But you've got this big fight going on, and the gorilla is kicking their asses. Just they're trying to work together, they're doing their best, and they're getting their ass kicked. And Economos is trying to get a hold of him on the radio, and he can't. And finally, the three of them are knocked out. The gorilla's about to finish off Peacemaker, and you hear and just blood starts splattering. And there's John Economos with the chainsaw running it through the gorilla. Now, everybody loves this. This is Chris starts calling him the Econogoat, as in the greatest of all time. There's this bonding moment. They're all singing and happy on the way they're leaving. Hardcore takes a picture of them. They're playing the music. They're covered in blood. It's this great bonding moment, to the point she even sends the picture in a group text that she calls the 11th Street Kids. And they've got this, and it's like they're becoming a team, which is interesting because Myrn isn't part of it. It's everybody but Myrn. This group is becoming a team. Now, the only person who doesn't seem to be completely happy is Vigilante, because he really wanted to do the chainsaw. He wished that Economos would have tossed him the chainsaw and then he could have killed the gorilla. But so maybe Vigilante's going to get upset that Economos is getting all the accolades for it. Not quite sure, but this is a pretty simple episode, because that's the bulk of it, is the attack on the bottling company. But there's a lot of little moments. There's the Economos scene with the PowerPoint presentation. We see that all boiling to a head, and him, Chris calling him Diebeard. And by the end of it, they've bonded. They've become friends over killing a gorilla. The team is becoming a team. And we're having that. And then there's this bullying thing where we find out that John Cena, or Chris's character, tended to look at all the guys in school at their junk and give them a nickname based on it. He used to call Vigilante Thimble. And Abadayo's like, why are you spending so much time looking at other guys' junk? What's with that? And he says, well, bullying is right. I got bullied too. And she's like, how did you get bullied? He goes, all the people calling me out as a bully and telling me I was mean. That hurt my feelings. It's like, oh my God. Just when you think the guy starts to get it, he doesn't get it. Yeah. But there's at the end, they all go separate ways. Chris goes home. Adebayo drives him home, goes in for a drink, and he makes her this horrible drink, which he calls the Pain Train, which is maple syrup and gin, and I think triple sec, and vinegar and pepper. And I think until you added the vinegar and the pepper, you might have had something there. And by the way, somebody online made the drink and drank it, and James Gunn was like, that guy's crazy. So, but so you get that scene, and in it, and while she's there, she plants the fake diary. So that's now placed. So that's going to pay off at some point soon. Whatever that's going to be, that's going to pay off. But, and it probably has to do with the fact that the the cops are trying to get a warrant for Chris's Peacemaker's place to prove that he was the one that did it. So they're probably going to find the evidence and whatever that's supposed to do, whatever Waller is playing. But there's a moment that Adebayo texts her mother, or gets a text from her mother, I think it is, saying, "Have you planted the diary yet?" And she has to respond. And you realize there's no previous texts. So either her mother never texts her, or they're set to automatically delete. Either way, that's pretty screwed up. There's some definite problems with that relationship. But so Harcourt sends off this group text. Everybody has that moment. It is that bonding thing going on. She has the drink with Adebayo has the drink with Peacemaker, heads back to the office, and Myrn is still there doing some work, and Chris has left the X-ray helmet. Adebayo's curious, so she puts it on and saw how he activated it. So it says, activate X-ray vision, and it comes on. So it's not, it doesn't check voice or anything. It's just very straightforward. And of course, she's kind of looking around like, oh, wow, this is great. Oh, yeah. Turns and sees Myrn and the butterfly in his head. Screams. He gets up and tries to chase her. They run outside. She tries to pull her gun. He knocks it out of her hand. She's on the ground. And that's when we go to credits. So, I think the question of why Myrn started this group, why he went to Amanda Waller, and why he's hunting butterflies is going to have to come out soon. And I think it's going to be that not all the butterflies are good or not all of them are evil. We still have that moment where Judo Master was like, no, you don't know, the butterflies aren't what you think, and then he gets shot. By the way, he's still alive and he's somewhere. So we're not sure where he is, but there's something more going on here. Now, is Myrn a bad guy and the butterflies are actually good? Because we've got the butterfly at Peacemaker's place that they're giving he's giving the food to, and oh man, I wonder what's going to happen if the cops search his place and find the butterfly. That could be a twist too. Maybe the butterfly gets into one of the cops. Yeah. So is Myrn a good guy trying to take out the bad butterflies, or is he a bad guy trying to take out the good butterflies? How is that going to pay off? If he is bad and the other butterflies are good, then maybe Judo Master ends up helping Vigilante and Peacemaker in the final fight. It just seems like there's so much unknown to only have, is it 2 or 3 episodes left? I don't remember. Let me check that real quick. I know it's at least 2. We're on 5, but for some reason I think it's 3. And 3 seems like it would be right, Like we're going to need 3 episodes to wrap this whole thing up. I just see what the name of the next episode is going to be called. Myrn After Reading instead of Burn After Reading. They've been doing pretty good on the names. I like them. The last one we're talking about now is Monkey Dory. There was The Chode Less Travel, Better Goff Dead, and Best Friends for Never, A Whole New World, spelled WHRLED. All right, yeah, it's 8 episodes. The 7th one is called Stop Dragon, as in big animal dragon. Stop Dragging My Heart Around. So we've got 3 episodes left to wrap this whole thing up, to figure out who the good butterflies are, who the bad butterflies are, or why Myrn, who is in the body of a bad person that he's trying to do things better, why, it's complicated because you could see Myrn being a good guy if the butterflies are bad. But then you've got Judo Master saying that the butterflies aren't what you think, which means it could twist the other way. This is a very complex show for what seems to be something very straightforward. So if you're just relaxing and enjoying the show, more power to you. I think this is great. I think you're just enjoying it, and whatever's going to happen next happens next. If you're like me, where you try to figure things out as you go, there are so many pieces on the table that we still don't know about. Even with the payoffs of certain things that happened this episode, what's with the diary? Why are we spending so much time with his dad? And why his dad's in jail? We got introduced to the White Dragon suit. And by the way, White Dragon suit and the fact that the 7th episode is called Stop Dragging My Heart Around seems like there's going to be a confrontation between him and his dad, maybe. You've got these, just so many things going on here. It's a much more complicated show than it appears on the surface. I think it's going to be one of those that once it's all done, we'll look back and go, oh my gosh, they layered so much in here. Whether it's Economos and Adebayo and Harcourt and all of them working these different angles, and what Waller's actual angle on this is, what Myrn's actual angle is. I mean, it's going to be interesting. And where Peacemaker ends up by the end of this. And if there's going to be more Peacemaker. Because we know Gunn has said that there's another show that he's pitching that Warner Brothers is interested in. It hasn't gotten a green light yet, but another spin-off character from the Suicide Squad universe, which is very vague. Because, it could be one of the team. There's not many left. It could also be the Thinker, Peter Capaldi's character. It could be so many different aspects from that movie, or it could be something even outside of that, because it does say from this universe. So all right, and then he's talking about possibly doing more Peacemaker because it is like the #1 streaming show in the country. So all right, folks, we have gone long a little bit. Let me wrap this up. We don't want to take up any time. It's Polka Dot Man art show. Polka Dot Man got killed, though. We don't want to take any of Amani's time, so stick around for Black Comic Universe, followed by Minute to Skim It with Miss Jen and Bean. And I'll be back with Kyle for In Stores this week at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Stick around for all that. Remember to check out the Karma Kickstarter, and we're out of here. Good night, everybody.